What's up, good people? What's up, good people? It's your boy, Dr. Leroy McKenzie Jr., coming to you with another episode of Upwards Conversation brought to you by Upwards Magazine. If you don't know, Upwards Magazines, we have these monthly conversations with those that we have featured on our cover of our magazine. Can you see that? That's the wrong way. Right there. And this month is no different. We're bringing you a gentleman that I'm going to allow himself to introduce himself to you in just a second or two. But we want to welcome you all. We want to thank you. Upwards Magazine is just a magazine that is for the people, by the people, and about the people. It's people that are doing some extraordinary things to uplift the community, doing some great things to inspire the community, and doing some great things to make our communities better. So that's what Upwards Magazine is about, and that's what these conversations are about. And that's why we call them Upwards Conversations, because we're about uplifting each other. We're about uplifting our communities, and we're just about uplifting us in general. So today is going to be no different. This conversation that we're going to be having, I can't wait. If you haven't gotten your subscription, you certainly want to go to the link that'll be along with the comments here, and be able to get your subscription to the magazine. You can get the current issue right online there, and then you can actually subscribe as well too, and see all of the other additional issues that we have there. And then check out the YouTube channel that has the other Upwards Conversations on it, that you can be able to check out our other cover stories and our other conversations that we have with the other covers that we've had on. So today, we have a great young man who is going to be, we're going to have a conversation with, who is just doing some phenomenal things in the community. And as you can see, he is an entrepreneur, he's an author, and I'm going to let him introduce himself and tell us just a little bit more about who he is. And he's none other than Maurice McFadden. And Brother Maurice, how are you, sir?
I'm good, brother. How you doing? Blessings to you. Blessings to you.
I am outstanding, man. I want to first thank you for taking time out on this afternoon to be able to come and talk with us, chat with us, and talk with us just a little bit about who Maurice McFadden is. So I want to start it off, and I usually start it off by that. Can you tell us just a little bit about who Maurice McFadden is and what you do?
Well, I'm Maurice McFadden. I'm from the Bronx, New York. Grew up, raised there all of my life. I started doing music. My artistic ways started coming out of my music probably when I was a youngster. A young lady, an older woman kept me. She was a Cuban lady, and she introduced me to a lot of jazz people. So jazz is my first love. Okay. So I started playing drums when I was a youngin'. Then I got into playing saxophone when I was in junior high school.
Wow.
So my whole transition of my artistic way started in music. So then I went on to do music more, producing music, being an artist, independent label owner. I'm a writer as far as music. And that's where my whole career started, with music, shooting videos, being, working for video companies, film companies. So I put my whole life around music when I first started out. So that's how I started out everything, so that's my beginning. That's who I am, that was my passion, music.
And I love that. And I was going to tell you a little quick story. Growing up, I played a couple of different instruments, the piano, the snare drum, and the trumpet. Didn't stick with any of them. I always wanted to, and I always think about it now. I wish I had stuck with the piano, but the one instrument that I really should have thought about, because the trumpet was a little harder, but the saxophone was something that I love it. I'm like you. I'm a jazz fanatic, man. Love, give me some nice jazz. I lie to you not. Every day, every day I listen to from YouTube. The YouTube channel has these smooth jazz I don't know what you call them, but it just plays. It has like hours of jazz, like smooth
Right.
jazz mixes. And when I'm working, all I do is find one because they have one for each day. They have like one a jazz thing for Monday, and it plays different types of. You can find different types of jazz, but every single day, all I do is pop that on, and some of them are like 3 hours, 10 hours, 11 hours of music.
Right.
I'm just like, man, this is crazy, and I'm glad I found it, or found them. So I love it. I'm a jazz lover like you. It's different. It's different.
Oh yeah, it's definitely different. It's definitely different, man. But I should have stuck with it though. Like I haven't probably played an instrument in years. You know, I went into doing, the hip hop and R&B and stuff, and everything became digital.
Yeah.
You know, so we started using machines and stuff, and I got out of playing instruments. But yeah, that's my first love, man. Music itself, though. I still got a record player, and 45 LPs. I want to hear that crackling of the music.
Yes,
you know.
I love that. I love that. I love that. So you have a collection of vinyl that you.
Yeah, I have a collection of vinyl. Yeah, I keep a collection of vinyl. Someone just bought me for my birthday last year. They bought me the box set of Prince's Purple Rain.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah, I got stuff, man. I got the box set of the Supremes. I got the box set of ZZ Top. You know what I'm saying? Like, I listen to more than just R&B. I come from an era where MTV first started.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And before they was playing hip hop and R&B on there, you know what I'm saying? You had to deal with the rock and all that other stuff. So I come from that era, and then being who I was in the hip hop community, so I had my outlet to music was just of all different genres, and I thank God because that helped me in my writing today, as a writer.
No, absolutely. Tell me now. You talked about what got you started into music. But what got you started into you got into the producing, and you have your own company now, right? You have your own company and started your own business.
Yeah, I started Maurice McFadden Books. I started that last year when I released my first children's book.
Okay. Now, because I saw that. Now, what got you? How did you go from music to actually writing the children's book, or was there?
No, I wrote my first poetry book in 2011.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that book is called Strength Like Yours. I did that. How I got into, to tell you the truth, man, I got into it by mistake. It was by mistake. I had a friend of mine that lived in California. Me and her were talking about doing a book together.
Okay.
I had been writing like songs. I had been writing. I never used them for songs, so I just put them in poetry form, and I sent them to her. She sent them to a publishing company behind my back. I didn't know nothing about. So she got out of the deal. She didn't want to do it anymore. But they kept calling me. And I was telling them, no, I don't want to do a book. I didn't want to do a book. So maybe like 2-3 years later, they contacted me again, and I ended up doing it. But I tell people, to all your viewers, it was the worst deal ever. Be careful of deals that you get into, because it was a deal that I didn't have to pay any money. They printed up the book. They put it out, and I never seen royalties. I never seen anything from the book. And then when I wanted to get out of the deal, I had to pay to get out of the deal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I had to pay like $400 or $500 to get out of the deal.
Really? Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
it was crazy. It was, and as I said, it was the, you know, what everybody said, oh, I'll give you a publisher deal. You don't got to pay no money. Don't believe it.
Yeah, yeah,
Don't believe the
absolutely.
hype. You know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying? But I tell you, it taught me though, because like I said, coming from the music world, I knew business, but I didn't know book business.
Mhm, mhm.
You know, and it's a little different. But in a way, it was a blessing that that happened because I had already had the book together, and I met another young lady like the year 2012, and she told me about Lucille Hay, Hay House in California.
Mhm.
And Lucille Hay, she did inspiration. What her company does inspirational books.
Okay.
So they had a subsidiary called Balboa Press. So I contacted them, and it was like, you got to get out the deal first. So I got out of the deal in like December, and I got picked up by them January of 2012.
Mhm.
And then I wrote maybe about 10 more poems, and then I re-released the book with them.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so I re-released the book with them. It came out, and it did good. It did good. I mean, even though I just had it on Amazon, you know, and
Mhm.
a few other outlets, but it did real good.
But if you can talk about that real quick, if you can, the correlation between poetry and music, because I've often said that a lot of times hip hop and even music is nothing but poetry put to music. So
Right.
how do you feel about that?
Well, it is. It is. When I first started doing poetry, I thought poetry had to rhyme.
Mm,
I didn't know that poetry was you didn't have to. I didn't know that poetry didn't have to rhyme.
right,
You
right.
know, so I'm doing all these poems as rhyming poems. And I'm not a spoken word artist.
Mhm.
You know, I have one or two things that I've done spoken word for, but I'm a poet. You know what I'm saying? So I write things about my life.
Mm.
Um, the correlation is the same though. Correlation is the same. I mean, words and rhythm.
Yeah, yeah, and I know I found, and because I write poetry as well, and I've been writing since I was in college, and I don't know if how when you started writing poetry, but I know for me, I was writing just to write. I was just getting stuff out of my head, man, to be honest with you, and
Right.
it just came out in that particular form, and I didn't think of it. I was just writing to express what the things that I'd seen, things that I'd experienced, and things that I just felt passionate about, and that's what I wrote about. And I found, didn't think anything of it, was writing, and then happened to show it to some people some years later. And they were like, "Well, oh, you need to put this in the book. This stuff is really good." So I was like, okay, I didn't know anything about writing, writing a book and everything like that. I was just putting stuff together that made sense in my head and everything like that, and didn't want to go the traditional route of mainstream and having it, trying to find a book publishing company. And so I started looking into, doing it myself, and wound up doing that with my first two books of poetry. And I was just like, yeah, because I didn't want anyone, and I don't know if you feel like this about your poetry and with your music, you didn't want anyone to tell you what your vision should look like,
Right.
and
Right.
shape it like they wanted it. If it didn't fit into that cookie cutter,
Right. Right.
that
Yeah.
cookie cutter
Yeah.
machine,
Yeah. Definitely.
they didn't want to do with it. So I was just like, no, I want to be authentically me, and I didn't want anybody to tell me how to tell my story. You know what I'm saying? And
Right. Right.
so I did that, and writing the poetry and putting it out there, and I was just like, well, man. And I started listening. Well, I'm a hip hop head like you. I love hip hop. Grew up in that hip hop era and everything like that. But listening to a pop, knowing what because I believe he wrote poetry as well, in addition to his music that he wrote. But
Right.
then
Yeah. Definitely.
yeah, I mean, and KRS One, who is my favorite, artist of all time,
Right.
they always seem to be that poetry context to it for me. And it
Right.
just had they had the beats behind it. So, and they each had their own rhythm to them. and everything like
Right.
that. And let me ask you this. If you had to describe your writings, your poetry as well as your other book that I don't know if you can see that there too, as well, and even with your business, your music, how would you describe it if you had if somebody asked you? Well, I'm asking you to describe it. If you had to describe it, what one word would it be?
Well, I mean, I'll describe it in the subtitle of my new book, which is raw, real, and relevant.
Uh-huh.
Because everything I write about it is nonfiction. Everything is true.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Everything is true stories. I mean, my first book was Strength Like Yours, and I wrote that because my mother was a breast cancer and lupus survivor, and most of our mamas, whether they have an illness or not, you know, we don't have strength like our mothers. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, they got superpower strength. Some of the time we don't know where their strength come from. So that's why I named that book Strength Like Yours. But that helped me to see, you know, I mean, my writing is different though too, man, because like I might start off with lyrics, I might start off with verses, I might start off with a title. And then sometimes I don't put it all together. You know, I have 20, 30 different pieces of paper with fragments on it. You know what I'm saying? And then I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember this, and I'll put it together like a puzzle, you know, and then I got a poem, you know? So yeah, I write it different. Like I've never sat down and just wrote a poem straight out. Never. Okay. I've never did that.
And I love that you talk about putting the pieces together. You made me think about the movie The Five Heartbeats.
Right. Yeah, you remember when he was getting his
running around, he's doing a little piece of paper with his sister. With that. So, but honestly, I think I think as writers, I think that is something that that we do. And I don't know about you, but I have a what I call a book of notes. And it's like, if whatever it is that I'm thinking about, whether it's my business, or whether it has to do with my business, or whether it has to be an idea come to me about, you know, something that I need to write about or want to write about, I jot it down and might not come back to it, or write down a couple of things to it, you know, for right now, and then be able to come back to it, because
right.
I'm getting kind of older now, so I can't remember stuff.
Oh, you're not the only one, brother. Thank God for these iPhones. I do it. I hit the record button, and I sing in it. I say something in it, and I got it there. It ain't going.
Absolutely. That is so. Yep. Absolutely. Got the note section, and like you said, the video doing the audio as well. So you can do the recording. That helps a whole lot. Let me ask you now. What made you? How did you go from writing the book, or your books that you have? Because you talked about the poetry book, and then now this book that you have now, because I want to talk a little bit more about your book that you have now. What made you want to write this book, the testimony, the raw relevant?
Well, that book, let's go back for a minute.
Okay.
Everything after 2012, I didn't do anything for 8 years.
Wow, okay.
You know, so I didn't do anything at all. I was just going through a transition in my life, ups and downs, trials, tribulations. But I had already, the kids' book was together. A Brother's Testimony was a play that me and a friend of mine did in Harlem years ago. So I already had the title.
Okay.
It was just the point of me putting it together, and it wasn't finished yet. And I could never know why it wasn't finished yet. But God hadn't finished in my life yet for me to finish the book. You know what I'm saying? So I was going through some trials and tribulations in my life to get to the point I needed to be able to write that last poem and say this book is done. And I had to wait on God to give me that foundation and that leadership to finish it out.
And I love it. Now, how did you go from the book of poetry to writing the children's book? What made you want to write this?
Well, you know, it's funny. The poetry book, Brother's Testimony, was supposed to come out last year.
Okay. Okay.
And what happened was I was working with a young lady in Pakistan. She did my artwork,
Oh, okay.
and she did such a great job. Um, we even did a coloring book. So I had this thing done so fast and so quick. Um, I reached out to a sister that did my website, and she ended up linking me up to my publishing company, which they're a hybrid company, but they're out of Atlanta. So I sent them all the content, and they was like, "Yo, it's ready to go." They didn't have anything to do, so I was like, "Well, you know what? Let's drop the kids book. Let's drop the kids book." Plus, I wanted something different.
Okay.
You know, I wanted something different to be able to sell to people. And you know, the kids book is Blessings Off of Dogs too. It's a true story about my dog, a Cocker Spaniel that I had adopted. So I wanted to write that story about his life, how I saved his life. And what I did, I changed the characters in the book to my son and my nieces and my nephews. So, like I said, that was a true story right there. But that book was ready before Brother's Testimony was ready. So I went with that book first. My idea was to drop both books in 1 year, in that year. And that didn't happen. But God even blessed me better because I ended up dropping all three within less than a year. So it still came out in less than a year. It just wasn't last year, you know what I'm saying? So it worked itself out.
No, absolutely, absolutely. So tell me a little bit about the business aspect of the entrepreneur. What made you want to start your own, your own business versus having, going the traditional thing? I know you do the music and the books. How has that been with being?
Well, we go back to what you said though. You said you didn't want to go traditional. I didn't know anything about traditional because when I was in the music business, you had labels that wanted to sign, and I had friends like, if you look behind me, all my music stuff is behind me. So I mean, I got Kane Gold. My cousin is nice and smooth beef, but I watch these guys. Go through deals and not get royalties.
Yeah.
And stuff like that, or they would sell 200,000, 300,000, and they would never go gold, and other people were going gold when I was seeing them. And so, I mean, I reached out to a lot of independent labels because I was in the music, I was in the game. I worked for Vibe magazine for 10 years.
Okay.
So I reached out to a lot of people, but they wanted to take everything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you can't have my royalties. And then I'm producing tracks too. So it was like, you want the production too? So I was like, I'm not going to do it. So I ended up linking up with a friend of mine who was an investor. And I said, look, this is what I want to do. I let him hear the music. He went out there and ended up getting me money to do my label. And I did that for 5 years with my label and still worked in the industry. So when it came to doing the book stuff, I was not going traditional. And then nowadays, in the last years, it's hard to even get with traditional.
Yeah.
So there was no reason to go traditional. Plus, I mean, hey, I want all my money.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
And that's what
I want all my money
too, man. It is, and matter of fact, I was having this conversation yesterday, and we were talking about Prince. Right. and other artists to TLC, because TLC's movie was on, and I was telling her, we were talking about, I was like, if you watch those movies, the Five Heartbeats, the Temptations, the New Edition story, TLC, I said the common thread with each of those, most of them had bad deals going in.
Right.
They just really did. I said, but they were hungry for the fame, and they didn't know the business side of the recording, and the record labels weren't going, and even the publishing, the book publishing, they aren't going to teach you what you should know about, the business aspect of it. And they haven't done that. And like you were saying, I think the Great Equalizer now has been the internet, because you don't have to. You can, like you said, you can sell 100,000, 500,000 books. You can sell that kind of CDs or album downloads, all of those things. Nowadays, I said, without having to go the traditional route, and and a lot of people hopefully they recoup more of your money. And even when it comes to authors, I tell them, hey, Amazon, because I was talking about this yesterday too. Amazon is a great tool to have. It's cool. Say, you got your book on Amazon. I said Jeff Bezos got enough money. I said he don't need no more.
Right.
I'm like, he don't need no more of my money. I said, so I'm gonna, I'll let people know that I have it on Amazon. I said, but I'm gonna push people to, you want to push people to your website. You want to have a spot that people can go to. I said, because here's the thing. I said, if they go to your website versus an Amazon, they can see the other products that you have, the other services that you have, they go for, let's say, your children's book. Oh, Maurice got, got these other books and these other services that he offers to them. Shoot, I need that. Let me do that. So we have to have that business savvy about us when it comes business minded.
Well, you know what it is about business people though. I meet so many people, man. They just happy to have a book out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I don't have a thing about the internet. I really don't like Facebook, Instagram, none of that, to tell you the truth. It just takes up too much time. But I didn't have that with my first book. I had to run around and hustle.
Right.
But you have that now, but you got to be on this thing 24/7.
Yeah.
You got to be advertising, promoting. If your book, and with me now having 2 books, so I got to do 2 different advertisements.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And then I'm doing kids functions and I'm doing poetry functions. So now I'm doing 2 and 3 different type of functions.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's not like, and then I can go to certain functions and sell both, but I'm trying to do 2 and 3 different times. But people, what they do, they got the book and they're happy to have a book.
Yeah.
Everybody, oh, I'm a publisher. Okay, where's your website? I ain't got no website. Yep. I ain't got this. And I'm not knocking Amazon, but they, it's KDP deals or whatever that deal is. I'm not knocking that. But I want it to be larger than that. You know what I'm saying? I have a distribution deal now. Okay. And people got to understand, they might not think they need a distribution deal, but for me, I needed a distribution deal because now, and a lot of people don't know this, so I'm getting ready to school them right now. You cannot get in any stores if you do not have a distribution deal. So if you want Barnes and Nobles to pick you up and put you in their stores, they're not going to do it. Yeah. Because they're going to ask you, do you have a distribution deal with Abrams Sparks or whatever other 2 other companies? You want to get in school libraries. They're not picking you up in school libraries if you don't have reviews from certain things. And if you don't have a distribution deal, it's that. So you need those avenues to be able to get, even as an entrepreneur, you still need certain avenues, but like I said, a lot of people, like I said, once they got that book, they're happy, but they don't understand that the grind, your entrepreneur grind is not an easy grind.
Not at all.
There is no guarantee that you're going to be successful. But if you continue and continue and continue, and you got to grind, you can't sit still. Even though that 8-year period that I waited, I was still grinding in my head. I was still putting the books together. So when the time came, I was able to put them out. But you'll have people that have ideas that won't do nothing with it. And then when it's time to put it out or do something with it, they still stagnant. They lost. So even though your plan today is not ready, keep your plan going. So when it is ready, that you're ready to manifest it, and that's what happened to me when time that God, and I believe in this. it's all in God's timing too. You know, it took me 8 years because it wouldn't have been right 7 years ago. It wouldn't have been right 6 years. It wouldn't be as successful as it is now. I wouldn't be talking to you right now with everything that I've done. So it's God's timing, and I was patient with that.
Yeah,
you know.
and now I want you, because you brought up something I think that a lot of authors and even artists, music artists don't understand about the distribution deal. Now, I want you to talk about why when it comes to, especially when it comes to getting into the Barnes and Noble, the Books a Million, and that's actually the writing industry, or the book industry is shifting, publishing industry is shifting, and it has shifted over the past several years.
Right.
But talk about the distribution aspect, because those big chain stores, which a lot of them are falling to the wayside now. There's only a few left. I think Barnes and Noble and probably Books a Million are probably the only two big ones that are left. But
Right.
talk about, if you can, talk about why if you don't have a distribution deal, why they really don't mess with you too much, or they want you to have that distribution deal if you can.
Well, I mean, for one thing, it's just like music. When they want you to have the distribution deal, because if they eventually put it on that shelf, which I just sent all my information to Barnes and Noble to try to work that deal to get my book actually on the shelf, they want to be able to return that book.
Correct.
So if they can't return that book, they're not getting any money. And that's the same thing with music. Music is the same way. You'll have your record out there. If your record is not selling at $10, next thing you know, you go in the store, your record is selling for $2.
Yep.
So after a while, it's not selling, period. They want to return it. There's nothing they can do with it. So the distribution deal, they're able to send it back.
Yeah, and go ahead.
But the distribution deal for me is good too. It doesn't have to be the big stores. With the distribution deals, you can go into any mom and pop and say, could you pull up any book by Maurice McFadden? They can pull it up and they can order it right from the store. So that's the best thing about the distribution deal. So my book is in any store, anywhere across the world, because it's in a database. So that's the best thing. It could be any store. It doesn't make a difference what store it is. You can go in the store, and that's the best thing. If you're just with Amazon, you're just with Amazon.
Yeah.
So that gives me an outlet to any, like I said, I don't deal with too many mom and pop stores, but like I said, just to have that outlet to mom and pop stores. I just went down on DC to try to work something out with Mahogany Books. Because they're one of the biggest right now, small stores that's like really big since Obama went there a couple of years ago and like blew them up. Now they have their DC store, but now they have the store in the harbor now. So they're doing a lot of things, but that distribution deal, like I said, for me, it was very important to have.
Yeah, and I'll add to that what you just said, but also those distribution deals. Understand whether it's the mom and pops or whether it's the larger chain stores, they order in bulk. So if they have a centralized, let's say, like you were saying, let's take a Simon and Schuster. They call up Simon and Schuster. I need to order, 500 of this book, 500 of this book, 500 of this book. They're ordering more than just your book. They don't want to do just the ones and two books. They want to have a catalog or a nice list of books that they're going to be ordering. So if you're in that distribution ecosystem, it makes it a whole lot easier for you and for them to be able to order your books. Like you said, you can go into any bookstore and have them ask for your book. And by people going there, they pull it up in their database. Oh, okay, I can get it here. I can get it ordered. I can have it ordered here. It'll be here such and such a day, as opposed to if it's not in the database, you've lost money. And that's a potential, client that they have for themselves as well, too. So that's the importance of having that distribution deal that you talked about, which I think is absolutely key. It's just key, man. And I love that. I love that. Let me ask you about your books. What is it that you want in each? Because I know you have a children's book and then you have this other book. What do you want the readers to come away with after they've read, whether it's the children's book or whether it's the other book? What is it that you want them to come away with?
Well, with the children's book, it was about my dog, and it was, being rescued. And that's why I named it Blessings Off of Dogs too, because there's so many dogs out there, or animals per se, that get euthanized. I mean, there's 500,000 animals that get killed every year.
Yeah.
So that book, I have on the back, proceeds from merchandise and book sales. I give back a percentage of that to animal shelters.
Oh, wow.
But that book itself, it just the generosity of opening your heart open to giving somebody a home. And since kids love dogs so much, it's a great place to go find a friend. I never wanted a dog, but when I got my dog, it was like the best thing that ever happened to me, my companion.
Really?
And to be able to share that family love. An animal can change a person's life.
Yeah.
An animal can change a person's life. So I did that to give back to other animal shelters, to save other animals. Now with blessings, with the brother's testimony, that's just telling my testimony of how God saved my life, and using my purpose for good. Using my gift that God gave me for good, and hopefully inspiring others to make a change in their lives. It might not happen like my life did, but there's a change. I mean, I write about being alcohol free, being alcohol, and denying myself or doubting, for years that I was an alcoholic. I wasn't, I was drinking. I was an alcoholic, but that book is about loss, grief, everything, First poem in is Sarah Smile. I lost my mother 4 years ago. 6 months later, I lost my grandfather.
Oh, wow.
So that was a big, big thing for me to lose both of them in a short period of time, because they was real integral in my life. Two of the most important people in my life. And then to turn around and lose my dog too, that was like, oh boy, here we go. It's like,
wow.
This is going to take, this is taking a toll on me. But I knew that they would be happy that I used my purpose in a good way. So like I said, a brother's testimony is just my testimony, but I've had so many people tell me like, yo, I used to be an alcoholic. Or you helped me with this poem, or I can see myself in that. So it's just to inspire other people, to maybe get out of that situation. I've been to jail a few times, so, I write about domestic violence.
Wow.
And that was one of the worst times in my life. I had to go to jail for that. Ended my marriage, messed up my relationship with my kids. But it all stemmed back to the point of me with the alcohol. It all stemmed back to that. And one day I just had to take a stand for myself and be like, look, you did this, you did this, you did this. What is the factor? The factor of it was me. I was the problem. And I finally figured that out after all of these years, that I was the problem.
Wow.
And once I figured that out, God was like, I got you now. I had you before, but he was like, yo, I got you now. You know what I'm saying? And I just see, I tell people every day, man, you don't even understand. Like in the first book, and most of us go to church and grow up in church, but I was playing with church. You know what I'm saying? I was playing with church. I was only praying when things were good, or things were bad, rather. I wasn't praying when things were good. And I had to change that mindset. He wasn't a priority to me. You know what I'm saying? And then I used to think the church and the people in the church were the people. But I found out they just, they just like me and you. And I was worshiping the religion. And I wasn't worshiping God. So I had to change my whole thinking to like, the God is the head of my life. He's everything to me. before anything, before a relationship, children, and everything. Because if I don't have God as my foundation, I can't do nothing in a relationship, and I'm not going to be a great father to my kids.
Wow, I love that. Now, how does a brother's testimony, and I hear your passion coming from that. Help another brother right now. Help another brother from what you talked about in the brother's testimony. Talk to that, but and I love that because I really feel like this particular book, it can impact our community. And you know what I mean when I say our community, especially
Right.
brothers that look like us.
Right.
Talk to them about that. Explain, if you can, you want to talk about the Maurice before brother's testimony and the Maurice now after writing a brother's testimony for that brother that's going to watch this or maybe listening to this.
Well, I mean, one thing I put out there, man, you know, things that you do in the past will haunt you for the rest of your life. You know, I had a bad past with assaults. I got arrested when I was in the military. I had to go to jail. I came home, I got more assaults. And in today's world, jobs, credit, everything, they check a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And those things can hinder you to getting in a lot of places in your life. So the best thing I can say to anybody is think and make the right choices in your life. Because if you don't make the right choices in your life now, those wrong choices will definitely affect your life years down the line. You understand what I'm saying? And it could be the smallest thing. And you know what's funny? I had an assault charge in 2014. I went to put in a job just to deliver groceries for Walmart or for any of those little, picking up food stuff and taking it to somebody's house.
Right.
I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Because that assault came up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking it was little. I'm like, oh man, I'm just delivering groceries. They didn't see it that way.
Yeah, they didn't see it like that.
And that's the problem, because you know we do actions before we think, and then when it's too late to think about it now, because now that action don't hinder us or mess up our lives and our careers. So like I said, my best thing, but like I said, the factor of my life who made me get into all that situation was alcohol. You know, the last point of my life, I heard a young lady's feelings. I mean, like hurt her, cursed out, everything. And that night, I was like, yo, you are the problem. I called my pastor up and I talked to him on the phone. But then the second thing I did is what most of us don't do. I had to reach out for help. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm a veteran, so I had to reach out to the VA and was like, look, I got an alcohol problem. I need to see somebody.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I went to see the young lady, and she was like, well, do you drink a lot? I'm like, yeah, I drink a lot at nighttime. Will you go to work the next day? Yes, I go to work every day. So she said, you're a functioning alcoholic, but you're an alcoholic and you need help. And that was the first time, even though I've had people say it or family members say it, that I realized that I had a problem, that I had to stop. If it didn't stop, I was going to continue to ruin my life. And from that day, almost 4 years now, that God was like, look, if you do this, I got you. As soon as I stopped drinking, everything started flowing.
Wow.
Flowing in life for me, flowing in life. My credit was bad. I was looking for a house. Man, I cleaned my credit up. I was able to close on a house in 6 months.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You understand what I'm saying? I was able to go to any car dealership and buy any car I wanted. But the best thing about all that stuff I wanted back when I was doing music and chasing my dream, the big house, the big car, all that stuff, it didn't mean anything anymore. Mm. It didn't mean anything anymore because it was just materialistic. Mm. You know what I'm saying? God gave me those things now because I submitted to him that he's the head of my life. So he brought a new understanding in my life of how to value things. And the most valuable things in my life is God. You know what I'm saying? That's the most valuable thing. The rest of this don't mean nothing to me. I could lose this tomorrow and start all over again, you know? But that's the grind, though. That's the grind of being an entrepreneur and not giving up. Because God is a God of second chances, third chances, fourth chances. He's a God of, you know, all chances. You know what I'm saying? God will never give up on you at all.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? At all. It's funny because I was telling this person today, I was talking to someone and they was talking about, I gotta pray that for forgiveness. And I'm like, why would you pray for forgiveness? God knew what you were going to do before you did it. So he gave you the opportunity to not do it and change your destination of what you was trying to do before you did it. There's no sense of praying for forgiveness because you knew what you was doing might be wrong anyway. You understand what I'm saying? But these are the things I'm trying to get with my book. So my book, I want people to take the example of what I've been through jail, domestic violence, alcoholism. I just ended up talking to my daughter after 15 years. We had never talked. So we reconciled in December.
Wow.
So to get you in a position to not do what I did, to not be in that position, or know how to work through it faster than I did. You know what I'm saying? And not take as long as I did to get my life right. So I'm giving you the blueprint right there in the brother's testimony. You know, whether it's a female or a male.
Right.
You know, I'm giving you the blueprint of how to say, like, this brother changed his life. Let me go check God out. You know, let me go check God out and see. You know, let me tell you something, man. I used to think that I could not be funny. I didn't think that I could still be the cool Maurice. You know, I didn't think that I could be that. And I found that God let me be the same person, just without the alcohol. I used to think that I wrote better when I was drinking. I mean, I came up with some clever things when I was drinking, but that didn't make me. The alcohol didn't make me the poet, the writer. And now I know that. You know, I didn't know that then, you know, because I mean, everything that I do, you know, God is the designer of everything that I do.
And I love that. And I saw this, somebody posted this the other day. It said, matter of fact, it was my mentor. He said, God counts different. He said, God counts different. I'm like, yeah, he looks at us totally different than anybody else. And
Right.
he doesn't look at us through the human lens and everything like that. But he because like you said, he already knows everything about us in the first place. So he already knows what it is, who it is that he's designed for us to be. And I think that's just absolutely phenomenal.
Definitely.
Yeah. Let me ask you, what is it? What does being an entrepreneur and an author mean to you, and the impact that you have in the community that you have? What does that mean to you?
For me, you know, a little Black boy who grew up in the Bronx that had dreams. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of kids, they don't live their dreams for fears that those dreams don't come true. But for me, being an entrepreneur and being an author lets people know that, you know, with God, anything is possible. You know what I'm saying? Anything is possible. But I mean, you got to work hard at it. You know, and like I said, you got to use your purpose for good.
Yeah.
You got to use your purpose for good. And believe me, when you do that, man, you get blessings on blessings. Blessings on blessings.
So if you had to give an aspiring entrepreneur or even an aspiring author 3 steps to being successful, what would those 3 things be from you?
First and foremost, God. God is the first and foremost thing. Passion. You got to have a passion for what you do. You know, don't do it because somebody else is doing it. You got to have a passion. And the last thing is drive. You got to have that drive. You know, you got to have that drive. So, you know, God, passion, and drive. You know, you have a lot of people that have passion, but they don't have the drive, you know, or, and that's the worst thing, you know, like being an entrepreneur is not easy. You know what I'm saying? You got to make those phone calls. You got to make, you know, you gotta be out there hustling. It's a never ending thing. You know, people think when you run your own business, I got it. I can lay back and chill. No,
Yes, sir.
you got to be working. You got to be working twice as hard at what you do. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I work a regular job, you know what I'm saying, too. So when I'm at work, I'm running ads. You know, when I get home, I haven't been to sleep yet. I'm running ads. I'm making videos. I'm doing interviews. You know, it's never nonstop. You know, if you're doing shows and traveling, it's nonstop. So you got to put in that work, and you might not get out what you put into, but don't get frustrated. You just keep on grinding. You keep on grinding, and believe me, if you trust in God enough, He will make things happen for you. You know, I mean, I would have never thought that I would be on the cover of your guys' magazine, even though I was on the inside a couple of months ago. I'm on the cover now, and I'm reaching people in 3 different continents.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, that's beyond dreams, you know, like I'm in India, and I'm in the UK, I'm in Nigeria, you know, that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, to be able to do things like that. But and here you go, man. It's only God, bro. That's my favorite word. Those 3. It's only God, bro. Because another young lady that I know that's a minister, she's the one that told me guys about you guys.
Okay.
So I reached out and everything worked out. You know what I'm saying? But I would have never, you know, I never known this networking thing that we have to do too in this business, man. It's a great thing.
Yeah.
You know, yo, you got to be humble in this game. You got to be real humble in this game. And if you don't know what you're doing, ask for help. And you know, and there's a whole lot of people networking that will help you out. You know, that don't take it. I mean, then you have a lot of people that won't help you out. You know, but majority of the people I've met, I've been able to make a lot of great connections around people that I've never even met. You know, that's what I was telling. I saw on the website they was doing a poetry thing in India. So I was like, look, soon as y'all put something together again, y'all need to start asking people from around the country. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, yo, start asking Americans, UK people, and bring them all together into India or somewhere. Right. And let's do this. Let's do this all together as a conglomerate of the art form, of the poetry art form. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the phenomenal thing about, you know, like you said, this entrepreneurship thing. It ain't for everybody. I tell people this ain't for everybody. It's not for everybody. It's not for the weak at heart. It's gonna have you, and I say it like this, it'll have you curled up like a baby, crying, asking yourself, why am I doing this? Why do I do this? So you got to be willing to understand that. And I've gained with having my business, I've gained much more respect for Fortune 500 companies and what they do, because like you said, this constant grind, building a business, a brand, this thing ain't easy. No. It's not easy. So to see those folks, you know, who have grown their businesses to, you know, to that level, you know, it takes work. Definitely. You know, it takes work, man, and that's not for everybody. You know, that's not for everybody, because everybody's not willing to sacrifice, because that's what it is. The biggest thing to me is are you willing to sacrifice? What are you willing to sacrifice? Because it's going to cost you.
Oh, it's going to cost you a lot, and people don't think this thing costs money, man. It's a lot of money, bro. A lot of money.
It's gonna cost you money, it's gonna cost you time, it may cost you friends, it may cost you relationships. All of those, it's gonna cost you something.
Definitely.
And you have to be willing to, to deal with that. You have to be willing and strong enough to be able to deal with that, man. So I appreciate you saying that. I got this question for you. What legacy do you want to leave? When people talk about Maurice, what do you want them to say?
That I made a difference in the world. I made a difference. That you inspired. And I got that from my mom, man. My mom is crazy. She was with a lot of organizations, man. And me and my brother and sister used to watch her go. And she never deprived us, but we just like, oh, you need to slow down. Oh, if I slow down, what am I going to do? But when she passed, I mean, it was just the outpouring of the people.
Mm-hmm.
My mom her name is she was with the Eastern Star, so her name is the main name in the state of New York now, the whole state of New York.
Mm-hmm.
That's an impact on people's lives.
Yeah.
That's something I want to do. I want to impact lives across the world, and leave that legacy. That's the legacy I want to leave right there. I mean, what other, people will be, talk about me for the next 100 years.
And here's the thing about having literature and having a book. Our books outlive us.
Right.
They outlive us. They'll be here far beyond us and everything like that. So I love
it. You don't never know. And I know you was in school, college, and I did a little bit of college, man. It's so many books that they're using, especially from the hip hop era and different books that they're using to educate the youth now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That they're educating the youth now. I mean, I'm getting with a lot of different organizations doing mental health now, trying to reach these teenagers that are, incarcerated. I just got invited to a detention center out in Tennessee to talk to some kids in the detention center, tell them my story. So you never know what your words, the impact you will leave on people, how it can help people in the community.
Yeah, absolutely. It really is, and that's the strongest thing that we have. So what's next for you? Are you working on anything? You have anything that's coming up?
I'm working on the next kids. I'm working on the next kids book now, because that kids book is a brand. So Blessing Off of Dogs 2, I will have subtitles. So the next one is Blessings Off of Dogs 2, First Christmas.
Oh, okay.
So I'm writing that now because with the whole children's book thing, I have a t-shirt line. I have doggy bowls, doggy clothes. So it's a lot on my website that I have.
I love that.
Like I said, that all of those proceeds from that, the kids' book, the coloring book, the t-shirts, the hoodies, all that stuff goes back to help animal shelters. But I'm gonna stay with the kids thing right now. Because everybody has a dog. Everybody's walking a dog, rescuing a dog, adopting a dog. It's something happening out there with this dog thing, and kids. So I want to stay on that path right now, and see where it takes me to. But like I said, the brand Blessings Off a Dog 2 is a brand now. So I'm going to run with it for as long as I can run, like a Rambo movie, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, that's cool. So how can people connect with you? How can they contact you to buy the books, or if they want to buy some of the merchandise and everything like that, how can they contact you? And have you come speak too, definitely.
Oh, definitely. You can go to my website, which is www.mmcfaddenbooks.com. So that's mmcfaddenbooks.com. And you'll see all the merchandise up there, the book, the coloring book, the doggy bowls, everything that's on there. And to reach out to me on social media is at Artist Maurice McFadden on both sites, Facebook or Instagram. And then my Facebook business page is Maurice McFadden Books on my business page.
Absolutely, absolutely. Brother Maurice, this has been absolutely phenomenal, man, to be able to have this conversation with you. I appreciate you taking, like I said, time out to be able to have this conversation with us and to be able to talk with us just about your journey, the journey that you're on and continue to be on, and the impact that you're having in the community, for the community, and even with, and I love the fact that your mission and your message, and the movement that you got behind with the dogs. I think that is so cool, and I think people can connect with that, and can resonate with it, and then putting it into a children's book perspective. That's a great marketing tool, man. I'm just
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it.
That is
Well,
absolutely.
thank you for having me, man. I really appreciate you guys for having me, on the cover and doing the interview. I really do, it's a blessing, man. It's definitely a blessing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have, I'm gonna talk to you something else after we get off, because I got something else I want to talk to you about too. With you folks, absolutely. So to connect with you even further. But we want to thank y'all for tuning in to another Upwards conversation. We thank you. We thank you for watching. We thank you for tuning in. Don't forget, you can go. Brother Maurice is on the June issue, so you can go right now. You can subscribe to Upwards Magazine. You can go to the website, which is http://upwardsmag.strictly. And you can go there and you can subscribe to the magazine, because you can get the magazine, the digital copy of the magazine. And then if you want to order the physical copies, you can do that as well. Just shoot us a message or email and we can get the physical copies to you as well too. So we want to thank y'all for tuning in. It's your boy, Dr. Leroy McKenzie Jr., the Impact Builder, and we will see you next month with another Upwards conversation with Upwards Magazine. We thank y'all for tuning in. We'll talk to y'all soon.